Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of What's Happening Now with C9 Solutions. As always, remember to like, share, and comment on this broadcast. There could be some information here, not useful to just yourself, but maybe to a neighbor, friend, or a relative. And tonight's broadcast is being brought to you by and sponsored by T&R Web Solutions, where they will take care of all your web needs, anything that you need in dealing with your current website. So tonight in the studio, we have Miss Shamekia Hill, who is no stranger to C&I Solutions, but she has come to us with a little bit different twist. She is now an author who has just released a book called 101, School Days 101. Miss Shamekia, welcome. Welcome.
Well, thank you once again, Charles, for having me again.
All right. So talk to us a little bit about this book.
Well, Skool Days 101 is a series of ebooks that I've created. I got so many questions revolving around how did I do it? How did you open the school? What steps needed to be? What paperwork? What documents? So the first book is initially that. It gets you set up and running in terms of what needs to be submitted to the state. And then there's some other things that'll be coming in 102 and 103 that are going to be really interesting for you guys.
Okay, all right. So I've been around Huntsville for a minute now, and I've met a lot of people, and I've noticed there's a lot of people starting to write their story, write their books, whether it be on how to do something, how to become an entrepreneur. They're writing books on how to sell homes from the market. They're writing books on just telling their story. Has being an author has that something that's been in you? Do you feel that you have something to give to others?
Actually, I have a lot to give to others, but I'm a very avid reader. I've always been my whole life. So this isn't one of the first ebooks that I thought that I would write, but it's the first one that I actually sat down and pounded out at the computer.
Okay.
So the how-to, but I also want to say that in 102 and 103, a lot of times what I'm seeing in the ebooks and things that are being sold is they're selling you the success, but not the pain, not everything else that kind of goes on behind that. And you'll be hearing that from me in 102 and 103. Some of the mistakes. I don't want anyone to make the same mistakes that I did.
Right. So how does one, well, I'm sure you hadn't really transitioned because you're still running 101 Technical College.
I am.
And you're still making that happen. I still see people signing up. I see you guys all over the social media platform. I see young ladies walking around with shirts on and stuff. So how do you manage that, managing 101 Technical College and writing a book?
Well, right now, I mean, you guys I have no hair. I'm joking. Really, I have hair. It's a balance. It's about finding balance for one. So I've been I know kind of essentially what works and what doesn't. So when you're starting out with something new, you're still trying to figure out what's working here, and you're just basically just throwing stuff against the wall, and trying to see what sticks. So I've kind of narrowed it down to where I know what works with 101. And when it came to writing the ebook, I knew in my head what I wanted to put out. So I got my daughter, shout out to Maya Hill. I gave her the table of contents one day, and I was like, we're going to do this, that, this, that. And Charles, even then I sat on it for about a month until I said, okay, Shamekia, just sit down and write the ebook. And I did. I literally sat there with a MacBook for about 7 days. And I didn't leave my house for 7 days. I was tired. My eyes were running, but I done it. So that's the first product that you'll see.
So, and I know you and we had talked previously and before. In this book, do we see a little bit more of Shamekia Hill? Do we try to understand who Shamekia Hill is in this book?
I touch on some things. I touch on me being homeless. I touch on me sleeping on someone's couch, or me being broke. I touch on, me having a bad credit score. I touch on some of the things that make me human. I'm initially a very private person anyway, so it's kind of hard to bring me, out of my shell. But I'm hoping that as I move forward, I've learned to find my voice, and moving forward to share my experiences so that either other people are inspired by what I've done, or they don't make the same mistakes that I make.
Folks, Shameka's, she talks about she's very modest and a very private person, but you got to understand something. You have so much that people need from you, because you touched on some things, being homeless, sleeping on someone's couches, bad credit score. There's so many of our viewers out there right now that have all of that. And then when they see someone like yourself, a book author, running a technical college, I think we mentioned you had a business before that, one can ask, how did you do that? How did you pull yourself up from being homeless, sleeping on whosever couch it was, to being who you are right now?
Well, I mean, it's a long story. Depends on how far back you want me to go. But whatever situation that I found myself in, by the grace of God, I was always able to initially pull myself up. So if I found myself short of money, Precise Work Solutions was one of the things where I was doing business consulting. So building businesses from the ground up, teaching people business credit, cleaning up their credit. So if I kind of ever found myself to where I was slack, I would just go find another customer. And word of mouth kind of, got around. So for a while, I moved around Huntsville and no one knew who I was. They didn't need to know. Me and certain people, we sign, you sign an NDA. I'm in the background handling your business and I don't want to be known. So when one-on-one came about, I knew I wanted to help more people. I know what my background is and where I came from. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Most people out there and family, friends, people who we deal with on a daily basis, one can say, I don't understand. She sounds so intelligent. She's doing great in her life with businesses and writing books. How did she ever succumb to just being homeless? How did she make it to somebody's couch with all this intelligence, with all this wit, with all this, perseverance that she has in her? How did that happen?
Trauma.
How did we get there?
Trauma. And succumbing to your lower self. If you don't know who you are as you move through life, people will tell you who you are. And at some point you'll start to believe it.
Right.
So I think that's what it was. A lot of unresolved trauma, childhood issues that I initially didn't want to deal with. And I really didn't start to become myself, I think, and start to really make better moves until I addressed those issues that I had.
Wow. We had a couple counselors on here a few shows back, and that's one of the things they talked about is we as a people, we don't never seek help when we're going through trauma and we're dealing with grief, and we bottle that stuff up inside of us, and it ends up hurting us down the road when we become older, because now it wants to come out. Now it wants to rear its head instead of us attacking it at the beginning. So I definitely understand what you're talking about and how you got there. So, excuse me. So, Skool Days 101. Okay. I know you're not going to give us everything, but give me something. Give me something.
Well, I'll give you that. I go step by step in the book. I will take you from what needs to be submitted to the Alabama College Commission all the way to how to do your grand opening.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
That's it.
Give me something. I gave you two things.
I tried, y'all. I tried to get it out of her, but she ain't letting it go. I guess we all have to get that ebook. We all have to get that ebook.
I can tell you that I've had people that have read it and they've said I made sure it was very easy to read, and the steps are literally do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So there's no hit or miss.
Right.
It's hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Outstanding. I love it. So you're not originally from Huntsville, are you?
Oh no, I am not. I am originally from a small town called Bay Minette, Alabama.
Okay. I have no idea where that's at. Is that south?
We are probably as far south as you, lower Alabama.
Okay.
We're about 30 minutes outside of Mobile.
Okay. All right. And what prompted you to make your way here to Huntsville? Once
again, that word I just used, childhood trauma. So I think I was about 15, 16. I had been in and out of group homes. I didn't make it to Mount Meigs, but I've been in and out of just not wanting to go to school. Home life just wasn't what it was supposed to be. I wasn't protected the way I should have been. So I just, pretty much was in the streets. I was here, there. And I came here I don't know if anybody wants to hear that story, but how I got here to Huntsville, and I haven't been here ever since. I, moved around quite a bit.
Mhm.
Atlanta, Ohio, lived a couple other places, and I decided to move back here.
So, I hear what you said. I don't know if anybody wants to hear that story, but I think about your success now, and I think about the things that you're doing and the great things that you're doing. I've been down to 101. I've worked with some of your students and allowed them to show me what they've been trained from your school. I think you're an inspiration, if you know it or not. People kind of like follow you because when they see what you're doing, especially as an African-American woman who is standing her ground and making things happen, not only just for herself, but in the community as well. People tend to say like, no, I want that. I want to know her secret. I want to know how was she able to do that. A lot of times, I tell everybody this, nobody never sees where you come from. They only see where you're at. Yeah, they don't see the struggle that you had to make to do whatever it was you had to do. They don't see the struggle you had to do with getting 101 started. They didn't see the struggle that you was doing when you were making this book. They didn't see the struggle from going from Lower Alabama to here. Only thing they see is, why now? I'm here, like you've arrived. As we say in our entrepreneur class, we tell the students always, draw a picture of what it looks like, what you would look like when you have arrived. That means basically when you have made success for yourself. And like this, and a lot of times our viewers and people, they only see us for what we are right now, and they didn't see what happened to us yesterday, last night, last week. Yeah. So I understand. I think in telling your story, I think you're going to hit home to a lot of people. And if not to those individually, but you're going to hit home to a friend or a neighbor who's going to say, you know what, our neighbor's going to say the same thing that she's going through right now. Like this, she needs to watch this broadcast and listen to her because she needs to understand you're not the only one who had this happen. You're not the only one who's going through this. And if these people can pull through and make something out of their lives, so can you. So can you. So I think that's amazing, from where you're at right now and what you are doing.
If you want to hear the story, Charles, I'll tell you.
Oh, well, now that she done twisted my arms, guys. All right, let's hear the story. Let's hear the story.
Okay, so initially, I think I spoke about it before. I came from a household where I was just unprotected. I'm pretty sure a lot of you know what I mean when I say that as a young Black woman. So I left home, and I decided that I was going to head to Huntsville. So I had a so-called friend that was in Birmingham, and I only had money to make it from Bay Minette to Birmingham. So when I got there, I remember it was pretty much in the middle of the night, and I made the phone calls. I kept calling her, and she wouldn't pick up the phone, or her mom was saying that she wasn't there. I'm not sure if that was the truth or not, but I just remember I kept going back and forth to the payphone, to the payphone. And there was this older gentleman that worked at the bus station that was just, he was watching me. And he walked up to me and he said, I could tell you're in trouble. Do you have enough money to make it where you need to go? And I was like, no, I don't. So he said, where are you trying to go? And I said, Huntsville. So he gave me the bus ticket. He said, well, if anybody asks, just say you lost your bus ticket. And he gave me a voucher to eat from Burger King. And he told me, do not leave the bus station. Of course, you guys know Birmingham, that bus station, that area, it gets, pretty rough. But being young, and I just say naive, I really wasn't thinking. In some situations that I was in, now that I think about it, I never realized how much danger I was in. I think that's probably what saved me. So I stayed in the bus station that night, and I came to Huntsville. I remember my sister was here. She was going to Alabama A&M. And I had her last location in her boyfriend's work place where he worked. He worked at Hardee's. So I, of course, got off the bus and got the cab, and I'm thinking, I'm home free. So I get to the address, and she no longer worked there. So, she no longer lived there. So the lady was nice enough to let me come in and use her phone. Times have surely changed, now that I think about it. So I came in, I used her phone, and I called every different restaurant that I know he worked at, and he came and he got me. And I went to her house, and I remember I slept for 4 days.
Wow.
For 4 days.
Wow. How old were you? Do you did this trouble? 15. Wow.
And then at that age, I mean, just I know I'm dating myself, but I can remember, even at 16, I had my own apartment. Like no one really, because they always thought I was older than what I was by the way I spoke.
Right.
So she never asked me for any like ID or anything. I had my own apartment at 16.
Wow, that's amazing. Folks, I'm gonna tell you right now, at 16, shoot, I wasn't even trying to leave my city, let alone my town, my state, anything like that. So I think that took a lot of intestinal fortitude, a lot of strength, inner strength, to travel like that by yourself at such a young age. I remember when I joined the military, and the military had put us on a bus, and I think I was 17 at the time. And I was even scared then, even though I knew I was going into the military and I knew I was with other people who was joining the military. But we had to take that bus ride, that long bus ride from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And I was terrified. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I was just scared all the way around because I had never left my city like that, let alone left the city alone, as a 17-year-old male. And here you are, 15-year-old female, and you're traveling alone and basically traveling in the dark because your sister wasn't where she was at. You was blind to everything. So you're doing search and seizure missions once you got here to Huntsville, basically.
Pretty much. I didn't, like I said, even when you think about things, I guess that's how you compartmentalize. When you talk about trauma, you compartmentalize, you put that there and you don't think anymore about it. That's just what you had to do to survive at that moment, and you move forward.
When you was thinking about Skool Days, what drove you to come up with this book? What was that driving factor?
Well, everyone just kept asking, like, how did you do it? Like, what are the steps? What do I need? And I just kept getting asked that question so many times. And I just decided to sit down and write about it. Why not? Right. Why not give the information away? And I remember one of my friends was like, well, Shamekia, you're running your school. Why would you tell other people how? And I'm like, why not?
Right.
If it's their path and if it's meant for them, then why would I sit on the information? It's not helping me. Right. So I sat down and I wrote the ebook in about 7 days. My daughter actually, I don't know if I just mentioned this, but she had the table of contents. I had given her that, and I still sat on it for about a month. And then I said, okay, Shamekia, it's time to, pound it out. So I did. A lot of the ebooks that I've seen and the research that I've done, it's the same ebook. People just take and add their like information on the cover or something like that, or switch it. No, this is specifically written by me. When you purchase it, you'll be able to see there's touches of humor, and you'll see that it's definitely me.
That is awesome. And so currently right now, I know it's on Amazon. Is there any other place that you can purchase this ebook or get it from?
Right now, it's just on Amazon, and what I'm working on is also publishing it through Barnes & Noble, and there's also going to be a direct pay link on my personal page as well as One-on-One's page to go through and purchase it directly.
Now, will this ever become a hardback? Would you ever put this in hardback or softback?
I was thinking about it, but in the age that we are now, in the age of technology, I was like, why? Why would I want to lug around books? And I have enough books at home. I'm an avid reader, so I don't want to have to go here and lug books here.
Well, and that's kind of like where I was going. You've been an avid reader that you are. There are people who are also avid readers who like to put these books on their shelf. And they like to be able to go back to them, like just when someone comes over to visit, you know what? Let me go pull this book off the shelf of the library, and they get to turn to that page and show them right there. I think there's a lot of people who still like that touch because even though in this age is much electronics that we use and technical savvy that we are, when it all goes down, we still have to go back to what? That book.
You're right.
We still got to pull that book off the shelf. I still keep the old school atlas. Just in case if GPS and Waze and Google Maps ever decide that they want to trip on me, I can go pull out that app, dust it off, and good to go. It can get me from A to Z.
Charles just gave me a new project, guys.
No pressure. No pressure.
No pressure from you, everybody out there. I think you should. Okay, Charles. That's right. Coming soon in paperback, guys.
That is awesome. So you mentioned your daughter gave you a lot of support on this, and she worked with you on this. How much is she involved with this book with you?
Not the writing process, none.
Okay.
But the encouragement, she's there 100%. Everything that I've ever thrown at my school, grand opening, you've even seen my daughter. She's been there. Maya Hill, shout out to Maya Hill. She's been there like 100% pushing me when she is literally my backbone. When I didn't have the strength, she had it for me.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You know, I've been told several times, and I just hadn't done it. You know, they say, Charles, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. Your story and the things that you've told me that you've been through and you've done, like just people need to hear that so they can learn from that. And I just hadn't just gotten around to it. I mean, I even had, I don't know. I guess I'm just so busy. I just got so much going on, but you know, I don't know. I want to do it, but I just haven't had time to do it.
Are you ready to tell your story?
I tell my story every day, and people just look at me like, "What? That happened to you?" Like, yeah, that happened.
That is different because when you're talking about it, it's almost like, because remember we talked about compartmentalizing.
Right.
You don't really think about it. You're just talking. When you're sitting there and you're actively writing it, it's almost like you're reliving.
Right.
So that's why I ask, are you really ready to tell your story?
Well, I am. I mean, I can tell my story.
Because you're going to have to give details. And
oh, yeah.
I think I might be the one to interview Charles when he does his book, guys.
Hey. You know, so the new release, what was the release date?
Actually, I already released it.
Okay, it's already released. So it's out there now, guys. It's already out there. We can go ahead and cop us one right now. You know, are you planning on doing a party for it? Open a book party, a release party still?
I haven't decided on that yet, but I'm pretty sure when this interview ends, you're going to talk me into that. So yes, guys. Yeah, he's going to talk me into that. So that's going to happen. So keep your eye out for that one. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it's going to be a series of ebooks. So we're doing 101. And once we get into 102, 103, I wanted to share some of my personal experiences with running the school. One of the things that I noticed that people do when they're sharing their story and you see the success and you see the big cars. Now, I don't drive one of those yet, but you guys, you know where I'm going with this. They share the success, but the stories that are behind it, you don't really get that. You don't get the pain. You don't get the suffering. You don't get I'm bearing it all in 102 and 103. I do not want anyone to make any of the mistakes that I made in opening and running my school or in any business that I've been in.
You know, I'm glad to hear you say that because I think that's so important.
It is.
That is so important. And, you know, one of the things we tell the entrepreneurs before we even crack the book open, before we even get started, we tell them right from the beginning, being an entrepreneur is going to take time. Are you ready for that? It's going to take money. Are you ready for that? If you're not prepared for neither one of those, I don't see how you're going to do this because you got to be able to commit that time. And like you said, there's so much behind the scenes things that happen as entrepreneurs running the school that people don't see. Only thing we see is the school, people being trained, and that's it. We don't know about the Alabama laws or what the college system is saying that you have to do or what they're trying to block you out of or other colleges here in the area says, oh, well, we're already doing it, so we don't need you doing that. They don't get to see that part.
Yeah,
you know,
it's disheartening. But I will also say that in terms of entrepreneurship, one of the things that people don't talk about is the insecurities. If you have insecurities and you have traumas already that you have not addressed, entrepreneurship will bring every last one of those out of you.
Yes, it will.
And
yes,
you will literally bleed all over yourself and everyone else that's around you.
Wow. Wow. That is something. That is something, folks. Hey, for those who are watching or just now tuning in and viewing this, we're here with Miss Shamekia Hill, author, entrepreneur, and businesswoman. She just released a new book, Skool Days 101. If you hadn't heard, go to Amazon. You should be able to get it there. Take a look at that. Make sure you get it. Share it with friends. Well, no, don't share it. Share your experience with friends. Tell them to get their own.
Exactly. Don't share. I'm sharing copies, guys.
All right. I love it. I love everything about this. I love everything that you're doing. Let's see. So that's our rocket round questions coming up, and we're gonna brought to us by TNR Web Solutions. And so, with our 3 rocket round questions, we're going to ask Miss Shamekia, tell us, what was the most inspirational book you've ever read?
Oh, wow. I want to say it was Robert Kiyosaki. What was the name of that book? I can't think of it. I mean, I'm being put on the spot here. I don't remember the name of the book, but I can say I was reading 2 of them at the same time, and it was Robert Kiyosaki, and then the other one was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then there's also a book called The Kabbalah.
Okay.
Get that book.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Give us the best piece of advice that someone's ever given you.
Don't give up. Well, my brother, never back down, never give up.
Outstanding.
It came from Bobby Hill.
Outstanding. Mm-hmm. Outstanding. And in the business that you're doing now, whether it be being an author or running the school, what is the one tool you cannot do without for your business?
Internet.
Wow. That's deep.
Not do without. I mean, you have students that test, you have them coming in, they're doing resumes. As a matter of fact, we need more computers, if anybody like to donate. But yeah, we cannot do without internet.
Wow.
That's the one tool I can't do without. I do a lot on the internet.
You say that, and I'm kind of like, wow, I'm still wowing about that because I think about it. And I remember in my contract world and when I worked there, we always say to ourselves, like, how were we getting this information 15 years ago, 20 years ago? How were we doing it then, guys? Like this. And someone brought up, you remember that old manila envelope that had a little string on it wrapped around it? That's how things were being delivered.
Oh, trust me. Now, when it comes to student files, I have the copy where we have their file, or, to wherever audited or anything, everything's there. But it's easier for me to keep everything on a laptop. So even when I'm not there, if I get a phone call or this happens, I can simply pull up my laptop and I have access to everything. So, I mean, I have a way to essentially work around that. But if I don't have to, I don't want to.
Right.
I would rather not.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Anything you would like to say before we close here tonight?
Yeah. When are you going to let me interview you? Because, my guys, last time I asked him when was the last time he had been interviewed, and it was like, nah, 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 nah. He couldn't tell me. So I was like, well, I think you need to be interviewed about CNI Solutions. So, guys, weigh in on the bottom if you think I should be the one to interview. So
I'll be on the lookout for those comments from the viewers who thinks that Shamekia Hill should be the interviewee for me on this broadcast to find out what's been going on with Charles Fry and CNI Solutions. Shamekia, ma'am, I appreciate you coming here. I appreciate you sharing your story. We're going to get the book. We're going to go ahead and read that. I'm going to make sure my staff gets it so that we can support you and everything that you're doing. And as soon as I finish it, I'm going to be like, hey, where's 2? I'm ready. Don't keep me waiting all day now.
I already know. I'm already working on 2, guys.
All right. Outstanding. Right. Hey, viewers, those who've been watching, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you tuning in. And again, go out and get Skool Days 101 from Ms. Shamekia Hill on Amazon's ebook. As always, your yesterday is not your today, and your today is not your tomorrow. Good night.